We got a really fun braking drill in a one-on-one setting. Alex, he was pulling his clutch in when he was using the rear brake. Now both contradict braking that makes the bike go forward, go straight. So I got him off the clutch, and now I'm practicing, you know, the intensity of which he's braking. So that was awesome. The first 3 passes through, I had him in the braking zone, use no clutch, front and rear brake, not worrying about making the inside line, just going to the outside. Now I said, hey Alex, can you try to come to a complete stop using both your brakes with no clutch? I want him to feel that intensity, feel how the bike, you know, that he can brake before the turn. The next step, he's gonna make the inside because he gets his braking done before we start to turn. A good rule of thumb I like to use is we use rear brake when we're going straight. All the rear braking should be done when we're going straight because that makes the bike go straight. Once we are into the turn, if we need to use the brakes, apply the front brake. That'll also help steer the front end. Nice. That's probably more brake than I'd like him to use. Like, he's not gonna need to use that much brake to make the inside of the turn. But he has never done that. He's never braked that intense before. He's always been, you know, using rear brake with clutch. Nice. So the good part about that is that's more brake than you'll ever need to use in this turn. So yeah. now you felt what the limit is. You felt the ceiling of, okay, the bike, this is the limit of what the bike is capable of doing. So you don't have to come in that fast, but we're gonna get our braking done in the braking zone.
Okay.
And we're gonna make the inside. The change I'd make here is instead of looking straight that way, once you get to start braking, you know, get your eyes up into the turn.
Okay.
And you don't have to go fast.
Yeah.
Let's do it like 5 or 6 times.
All right.
So he's sitting at a really good spot, but he's not really using any brakes. I think he's getting more comfortable with speed. Believe it or not, I don't think you're using much brakes at all. I think you're getting more comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like, especially before that last one, I was just trying to think about not braking until here.
Yeah. And
then I feel like I'm letting off the gas early and then kind of coasting it out probably a little bit too much, but
I don't mind the, you know, I'd rather less brakes than over braking here, especially obviously the dirt's a little bit more loose and you have nice roll speed. I want to point out too, you're sitting at the right spot. Definitely stand, you know, until that roller, then you can sit into that and really get on the power. Mm-hmm. But try braking just like you did when you went straight. Even if you brake aggressive here and then use the inside, I'd rather that.
Okay.
Just so you can feel that, because you're naturally going to build more speed, and with speed comes a little bit of intensity. Yeah. I'm not asking you to go faster. Just try to really do what you're doing before and get your eyes up, and you'll naturally end up in the inside of the turn.
Okay.
But I like how you stand until that roller. That definitely should continue for sure. Yeah. And I wouldn't. I said after you go straight into a turn, use front brake. I wouldn't use a ton here. I'd use it here, but in here, since you're going to be on the throttle and really getting your eyes up towards that double, and there's not a rut to track the front end in, you don't really need to rely on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I keep messing up that double just because there's that
rut
right in the center of it, and I just don't want to hit that rut.
The rut actually is a good tool because it's going to give you less lift off the jump.
Yeah. I get that, but it's intimidating.
It is intimidating. Yes! The rut's intimidating. Oh yeah. Creating a new line. He doesn't like the rut, so we have 2 choices. We can either go to the left of it or we can go to the right of it. Now, naturally, if you get on the throttle, the rear tire is going to spin. Steering with the rear wheel is just more abrupt, aggressive throttle control, right? Let's see what he does. He's starting to do it unintentionally, where he gets on the throttle earlier and the rear end will steer to the left, setting the bike up to the inside. So you're sitting, you know, right in the pocket, I'd call it, right after here. And that sets the suspension up nice for this double. We don't want to sit on the face of the jump. It might seat bounce us the wrong way if we do it incorrectly. So we have two choices. We can either take the inside and go to the left, or we can go to the right. Now, naturally, you went to the right because you were getting on the throttle pretty aggressively, and the rear tire was braking free, and you're steering with that rear wheel. You got your eyes up, the bike was going where you wanted it to. To make this a little bit easier and more consistent for you, I want to add a little bit more throttle here before we get to this point to bridge that gap, that transition. So that way when you get on the throttle, it's not so abrupt. Like, we'll start steering with the rear wheel here. It's not going to be super as abrupt as that, but we're going to break traction and get our eyes up. That way we start steering, and then you'll end up over here. You know what I mean?
So trying to wind up like to the inside of kind of the pocket. Right?
Yeah. I don't want you to go left of that because then we're going right to the fence.
Yeah.
So yeah, come through this turn. I'd get on. When you roll the throttle is good. Just do a little bit more. Okay. That way, when we need to get on the throttle more, it's less of a gap.
So a little more here.
Your body will be more settled too, because when you get on the throttle, it almost like is like a shock. You're reacting to it rather than being proactive. If we are more on the throttle here and can set up for this earlier, or we're not going to get so much upper body movement.
Yeah, and it'll kind of help us stay away from the big rut, and then.
And you're turning out of this here, which is great, but you could turn out of it earlier, so that way you also don't have to turn as sharp.
Yeah.
Up here, I mean, you're standing up through here. Mm-hmm. You see that. Once you're here, get your eyes up towards the lip, and a little bit more throttle, sooner, and it'll steer you just to the right of it. But this turn, does that feel better? Yeah. Turn looks good.
Definitely. Like, I feel pretty nice and set up for this once I get there. And I can tell that I'm carrying a little bit more speed coming out of the straight too. Just
being, like you said in the beginning, new bike, just want to feel comfortable and smooth. That's a huge thing, is understanding how we can brake.
Exactly.
And visualizing now, like, braking zones will change in some turns, but the placement of it is I'm confident saying that it could be the same in most.
Yeah, I definitely feel like where I was kind of coming, I was just following this line, and then I'd wind up in the same spot.
And then you were like,
and
shoot.
And then I'd try to get out of it every time, which, I mean, once you're there, you only have like 3 feet to actually go somewhere else. So, okay. Yeah.
Sweet. Let's do it. This is really good too, because he's the only one that's been riding today, and the rut's already like this. During a race or open practice situation, you got to learn how the track's going to break down and adapt to the conditions. Biggest thing with that, he wasn't crazy abrupt with the throttle. He got his eyes up earlier. So many people get stuck in just looking at a line and just staying in it because that's what they see. Nice, nice. Nice. Amazing.
He looks so much better.
He's getting on he's braking earlier, which results in getting on the throttle earlier. His eyes get up earlier. When we ask someone to get on the throttle right before the jump, we're asking too much of them. Too much. One step at a time. Braking, throttle, sit down.
He like soaked up the crap out of it.
He's got a good base. He's got a real good base. He's getting much more comfortable in understanding his bike. When he first came here today, he only has about an hour or two on this 450. He rode an old bike for 13 years, so he really was not. He just was unknowing of what was underneath him. Dude, that was nice. That was sick. I hope that felt as good as it looked.
Yeah, it did. I mean, you can kind of see, how much more straight, I was able to hit it, and that just, I never really got out of sorts with that one.
No.
Where I was trying to make that corner, which is kind of going wherever.
Also, you're getting comfortable, braking earlier, getting on the throttle earlier, and whether you notice it or not, that front tire is breaking traction a little bit, but you're turning on the throttle. It's great. But can you feel the difference when you get on the throttle earlier, so it's not as abrupt once you're into that pocket?
Yeah. I feel like, it also helps the bike kind of turn a little bit, right?
Yeah.
instead of just using
That's the goal.
the front to just kind of push it. Yeah.
Well, you'll end up knifing the front or pushing
Yeah.
straight if you try to, oversteer with the front end. Do you feel more comfortable?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, definitely. I mean, it feels a lot more consistent, and then it's just, it's not something I have to think about as much if the setup is right. So then I can kind of be focused on, the next stuff versus like this was definitely something that when I was coming in initially, I was very focused on just make sure I get off this lip in an acceptable way. Just try to get somewhere to make it work. But now that that's a lot more consistent, it's just easier.
This line is rarely going to develop. Lines like this, when there's a practice or a race, because people aren't thinking like that. They're just following that main line.
Yeah.
Also, you understand entry coming to the turn wider is going to be a lot more smooth, whereas like the main line is going to be in the middle and turn sharper and knife. Yeah. But there's opportunities like this all over the track. Mm-hmm. Any track that you ride.
If you're here like on your race day, no one's hitting the right 3 feet of that takeoff.
No.
Yeah.
And you did a good job of jumping over to the left. Now, I don't want to condone like cross jump on purpose, but to set yourself up for that next right-hand turn, you did a nice job of opening up the track.
Yeah, I mean the flow kind of just takes you that way.
Yeah.
Then you kind of open up that next corner.
But I'm happy with the braking, getting that out of the way early, and being comfortable with getting on the throttle earlier.
Yeah, the little bit of throttle mid corner helped a lot. Like that, I don't think I would have done that on my own. Like just a little bit to just kind of pivot everything around. It helped out.
Pivot is a good word.
Yeah.
It can really pivot that bike and set you up. If there anything on a small track like this that breaks momentum is something that we could work on.
Yeah, I mean it also does kind of suck to roll it too.
Yeah, yeah, but like a way that I like to teach, and a phrase that I used, even yesterday with a one-on-one setting is we're not going to gain time, from intensity and speed. It's the lack of mistakes. Mm-hmm. It was a deep rutted turn that I was working, with someone yesterday, and it was so deep every time someone would go by, their foot's dragging or elbows dropping down, and that's like half a second. Well, there's ruts like that on every turn. So if we can save a little bit of time here and be more smooth, we're going to save time on every turn. But a couple seconds a lap goes a long way. Not even thinking in the sense of I need to go faster. Mm-hmm. I just need to be more calm and consistent. Yeah. But I'm happy with this. Do you have any questions?
Not really, no. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that feels a lot better than it was before. I mean, like straightening it out, it kind of makes it feel almost like hitting it from the outside, where you come in with nice squared up, and then you're just kind of good to go.
Sweet. Yeah, grab a water, take like 5-10 minutes, whatever you need. That was awesome. That was productive. Like.
Yeah, no, that was really good.
Sweet.
All right.